Forget the habit stacks and the morning routines. Today, our coaches are telling you the one thing that actually changed their life. It might not be what you expect, so stay tuned because this is the Better You Show. Hey, I'm really glad that you're here today. I'm Coach Doris, and these are the Better You coaches. We have Coach Joyce, the Happiness Igniter, Coach Tiffany, the Hypno Coach, Counselor Shelley, the Wellness Whisperer, and Coach Sarah, the Leader We Love. Joining us today is our return guest, Nicky Yazbeck. She's a licensed clinical social worker with nearly 30 years of experience of sitting with people in their most tender, honest, and difficult moments and helping them find their way through. I'll be honest with you, this is one of my favorite kinds of episodes to record because you're going to get to know the coaches a little bit. Coaches, I know you've all got something worth sharing. So what do you say? Let's get into it?
Sounds good.
All right, cards out. What's one habit that changed your life? And I know you're all thinking because oh, so many. Where do I start? Because we're in this industry and we're constantly evolving. But what's one thing that you noticed made a difference?
Okay, there's like you said, there are so many things I was like, what is it? Though I think right now for me, it's listening for understanding and clarity. So instead of just like waiting to get my turn in or talking over people, really stepping back and listening to what people are saying and then clarifying if I'm not sure what they mean. And this really has helped me with misunderstandings, with communication, and with bridging gaps between people of various viewpoints. And it's working out amazingly well. And I absolutely love it. And I'm even in this group, we're from various political spectrums, et cetera, et cetera. And our goal is to understand each other and not fight with each other and to build a bridge back to sanity, if that makes sense. And for the most part, it works out really well because if someone has the floor, they're allowed to speak and then we can clarify what, and it also builds resilience too, because maybe I totally disagree with this person, but it's like, how can I sit with this or how can I learn to be respectful, understanding, and compassionate to somebody that I totally disagree with? So this has made a huge difference in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, being able to build that tolerance and resilience and being okay with being with people that may not agree with you is a pretty big habit to start and to keep. What was the first thing that you did, Tiffany?
Well, I noticed it in myself. My sister was saying, like, she's like, "No, you never listen to me." I was like, "My goodness, are you serious?" Like, my gosh. So then that brought it to my awareness, and then I just started realizing that, more and more, the reason I'm misunderstanding people, or I feel like a lot of the things that are going on nowadays is people are just kind of talking past each other, and they're not even understanding the real issue. That's my take on a lot of things, right? And so, if you can do that, if you can actually listen, and then if you're not sure, you can ask questions, right? Hey, what did you mean by that? Or when you said this, because a lot of people actually these days, they could be saying one thing and then meaning another thing, right? So just getting that clarity and then giving people space to express themselves freely and then trying not to be too judgmental, but understand what's going on. And again, trying to build that resilience. I feel like in these times, that's something that I feel like it's kind of a missing piece. My purpose with this is to more build those bridges, right? It's more to not be so judgmental, but to kind of let's build a bridge, a pathway back to communication where we can try to understand each other with compassion.
Love that so much. Shelley.
I think that the habit that changed my life the most was starting to listen to the signals coming from my body. And, whatever it is, if there's an uneasiness or there's a stomach ache or my breath is becoming shallow or I'm just feeling really uneasy, that moment when it's not even about saying yes or no, but something's not right here. And taking that moment to listen to what's going on, because we know that the body processes data and sends a signal before our mind even figures out what's going on. That is a definite, that's our survival. That's what that system is designed to do. So if I'm getting a signal, instead of going, stop that, don't do that, and I can actually speak to this on a very personal level. A very long time ago, when I was getting ready to get married, I kept waking up with a stomach ache. It was so terrible that I collapsed on the floor and ended up in the hospital. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. Not a thing. Not a thing. And I kept saying to myself, oh, just ignore that. And I kept losing more and more weight because I couldn't hold any food down and I was so anxious all the time. What's going on? But I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening to myself. I didn't want to marry this man. And I did anyway. So if we don't listen to ourselves, that was a really long time ago, and we all make mistakes, but if we don't listen to the signals that are inside us, then we're not allowing the most important part of ourselves to speak, right? We're not listening to our internal safety.
Yeah.
And so that habit, that's taken a really long time for me to learn exactly how to respond to those things. And how to, what am I going to do with that feeling? Let's just stop and see what that means. Let's listen. Where are the roots of that discomfort coming from? Why am I feeling that way? Yeah.
That's a very important thing and something that a lot of us can relate with. Learning that language that your body's been trying to tell you all along that we haven't been listening to, that intuition that we always say you should listen to, because your body does speak to you. But so many of us have been ignoring it for a very, very long time. And so doing that and slowly learning it. How long has it been that you've been working on this?
Probably gradually all my life, gradually since I think I really hooked into that in my 30s. So, this realization when I actually first went to therapy and some light bulbs started to go on, and my counselor said some very revealing things to me about choice, about choice. And I kind of, in my mind, thought, well, there's only this choice and this choice. And I remember the day she said, are you sure that those are the only two choices you have? Are you absolutely sure about that? And I was like, yeah, what other choices might I have? I was so boxed in to my own reality of how things were supposed to be and how I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to do and what society was expecting to do and what my parents expected me to do, that I wasn't able to think outside the box.
Yeah.
So yeah, a long time.
Yeah. And I think the reason that I ask is because a lot of people, um, they'll try for a week or two, and then they'll say, well, it just doesn't work for me. I just am not intuitive. I just can't read my body. It's a long process to learn what each signal means, like you were saying, how to interpret it and work. Nikki, what is the one habit that has helped you?
Well, it's funny because it's echoing a little bit of what was earlier said, and I'm struggling to come up with one, so I'm gonna have to drop two. One was like Shelley said, it's really learning to like listen and honor my nervous system instead of push through and bypass it, and really listening to that wisdom and what is it trying to tell me? Does this feel good to my system? Does this not feel good? Does this person feel good? Does this place feel good? Does this job feel good? Is how I'm spending my time, all of that, does that feel good to me? And just really, really listening to that. The other one For me is shadow work. I love shadow work. I would consider myself a shadow worker. I love crawling into the shadows of the psyche. And so what that means for me is looking at the unconscious material and pulling it forward, pulling that material and shining a little flashlight on it so that it can be something that we work on in the present moment. And so the way I do that is if somebody, and we can all relate to this, where somebody says something or does something to us and it triggers us and we have a massive reaction and we realize that we're being ridiculous and we realize that our reaction is way more expansive than it needs to be. And so when we have that, it's less about the other person, it's more about us. And so it's in those moments when somebody says something to me and I'm like, wow, that really, really hurt, or I'm getting really I'm feeling that pain, or somebody says something and I lash out in anger. It's like, what is that? What is that about? Because it's definitely not about them. It's about me, and exploring, like, why is it that I got triggered? What does that mean? What am I feeling? Oh, that's triggering my abandonment wound. That's something I need to look at. And so I look at those moments where we get dysregulated in that way as golden nuggets to work with. Um, where it gives us such an opportunity. And so it's really easy to bypass those and to not look at them. Or we don't want to feel it, or we don't want to feel sad, or we don't want to feel anger. But when that comes up, that's an opportunity that's presenting itself for us to do deeper explorative work about the root of it so that we can actually heal it.
That's so deep and powerful. And again, not something that is quick and simple. It's something that takes a long time to hone and a lot of self awareness to even learn how all of this affects you. And I think that's phenomenal.
I have a trigger journal, which is awesome. So it's like you can just have it, and as you're going about your day, you just pull it out. Okay, this is bugging me, and then when you get time, you can, cause like you were saying, sit with it. What's the initial thing going on here? Where does this come from? What's the root? Yeah, all that kind of stuff. It's fantastic.
Coach Joyce, you're next on my screen.
For me personally, it's being present. There's lots of different ones, but being present is, the biggest change that I've made in the last, probably 5 or 6 years. And it's definitely been a journey for me, but a really good journey because, I've taught myself to enjoy the now instead of worrying about what happened in the past and what's going on in the future. And just by opening up, I always thought opening up my curtain, right? So you're taking the thought of sitting in front of a theater curtain and pushing your um, what you want to think about, the present is in front of you, and pushing the curtains open so that you're pushing the past and the future to the side and just being now. And, I'm becoming a grandmother in the last, 5 years, and being able to be present for 2 of those bursts. And like I can remember the feeling and what happened and the cry and the wake up, like all those things I can now remember. Whereas if I would have said to myself, like, Kenna, what was it like when my first child was born? And I'm like, don't have the same presence as I did doing that. So just making sure that I'm present and enjoying life, right? Because life is way too short not to enjoy. And that's what's really helped me, because I'm not thinking about the future or the past. It's just now. That's it, period.
Presence is so important and sometimes really hard to access, and it takes a little bit of practice to get into it. You talked about visualizing that curtain. Is there anything else that you do to bring yourself to the presence?
Sometimes it's just waking myself up, like, hey, like you need to be focusing on not scrolling. You should be focusing on what's going on and what you need to do. Um, Sometimes it's, a noise or like birds, for whatever reason, birds chirping outside will do that for me. Sound of my grandchildren will do that for me. Um, Sometimes it's what I see. Sometimes it's the wind blowing. Sometimes it's the sunshine in my face. So there's all kinds of things around you that you can teach yourself to wake yourself up, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. Bring yourself back to the present. Sometimes touching something cold or warmer, that shock will do that as well. And so lots of different things to bring myself back to the present. But you have to work on it. You have to consciously know that you're not present right now. You have to consciously work on it. And it takes time, but you can get there. And it's so life changing when you're in the present and enjoying life and smiling and excited. Because you don't worry the same way you would as if you were thinking of the future or the past.
Excellent. Coach Sarah, tell us, what is the habit that changed your life?
As a lot of coaches and therapists says that there's a lot. If I have to really pinpoint on one, I have to give you a little bit of background. That is, I came from a culture where being obedient is one of the best virtue we can be. So saying yes, whether you like it or not, and follow the pattern. Everybody, your generations, they have followed. Don't break the pattern. So this is how I was conditioned. And I was running my life on autopilot. What for me is when I actually break out from it is when I was going through my separation. And I realized I'm not that person whom I'm always being taught and grew up with those values and conditions. It was hard to break that pattern, but the habit, what helped me to choose consistently, and I'm still choosing it, still doing it, is taking a pause. And like Coach Shelley said, that understand your body, how it's reacting to it. And when I start realizing it, hey, I can actually take that pause and literally scan my body and see, where am I feeling that? Is it in my heart? Is it in my neck, my head? Like, what is triggering me? So taking that pause, understanding it, and then I took that pause to gather myself, not to react, and then respond when it times to respond. So that has been phenomenally impacted my life, and I shifted my whole identity, who I was supposed to be, than who I really am. I learned not to be overwhelmed, and from just taking that pause, I'm being more aligned with myself, with my intentions. And also, I'm not burning out. I'm not getting drained. I'm stopping that from affecting me from anywhere it's coming from, whether you're at work, whether you're at home. It could be your partners, could be your children, could be anyone, or society or culture. Have a very strong tie to it. So those, I would say, I could regulate myself, and I started to, instead of performing, I started to lead. Habit shapes us, but this can be changed. And you have to be consistently choosing it every single time. Whenever you feel that, you have to make that conscious decision that, yes, I'm making a pause, I'm not reacting. And that's how you build your habit. And you can rewire yourself, your mind, and then you can actually change yourself.
You make a good point there, because when you think about habit change, it's about creating evidence that this is true. So it's what you consistently choose. So if you consistently choose outside of your habit, then this new habit of not doing that is going to become your main habit, right? So choosing the habit that you want most often creates the evidence that you need to keep it going as your habit. For me, it was a mixture, and it's very similar to what everyone else has been talking about. It's that self-awareness and that habit of examining things. And Tiffany was talking about a trigger list. I'd never actually labeled it anything, but yeah, that's definitely what I would do. Is I would have, whenever I felt triggered, I would either in the moment stop and analyze why that triggered me and evaluate that and learn what was happening within me and a path forward. Because, of course, it's up to me to decide how I'm going to react to anything. It's up to me to control myself. And so all of those things are mine. And I would either do it, like I said, in the moment, or if it was a bad time, because sometimes I got triggered at bad times, I would make a note to deal with it later. And then that night or the later on that day, I would review what happened and process that. And it helped me become so much more self aware and also see what part I played in the triggering and what part other people played and relieve judgment of them, of me, of everything else and just really analyze the situation. Um, yeah, that was my habit. If something today made you think, I need more of this, trust that. Go to betteryou.coach, book your free connection call, and just start the conversation. That's it. That's the whole task. And before we sign off, Nikki, where's the best place for people to find out more about you?
Yeah, thank you. If people want to reach me, they can get me at www.nickyyoga.com. So it's three Y's, NICKYYYOGA.com. And then they can find me on YouTube and all the audio platforms. I have a podcast. It's called the Connected Community Podcast, Exploring Possibility. And that's it. So yeah, thank you.
It was so incredible to have you here. And all of the links for all the coaches and therapists that we have here will be in the description. Thank you, coaches, for being here. And thank you, especially. We don't take this lightly. And always remember that you matter. So please take care. See you next time. Oh, hey, thanks for watching. Since you watched this video, we thought you might really like this video. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe right there for more great videos. Plus, tap that notification bell so that you don't miss any videos at all. Comment your thoughts below and see you next time.